Welcome to the Highly Effective Man podcast, hosted by former Navy SEAL turned life and fitness coach. I'm your host, JP Bolwan. This podcast is your resource for unlocking the healthiest, most productive, and highly effective man within you. Let's go. What's up, guys? Welcome to the Highly Effective Man podcast. I'm your host, JP. And today's episode is going to be an interesting one. I'm not sure how everybody's going to feel about it, and but it's just something that was on my mind this week. And we're going to be talking about death and the unexpected gift that death can bring. And depending on, I think, your experiences with death, I think that it might determine how you feel about this podcast. But I'll give you, some background and my experiences and maybe some of the thoughts that I have around death. And, we're going to talk about three things. So one is, our thoughts around death can play a big role in how we feel about it. And number two is that we can use that experience as a source of motivation and love. And I know that might sound crazy right now, but as we go into this podcast, you'll see what I'm saying. And then number three is, how do we take advantage of this source of inspiration, I guess. So this past weekend, my dad would have been 66. So his birthday was August 11th, and every year when that date rolls around, I think about him, and I just think about how different maybe my life would have been had he been around. And it's kind of a weird thing to think about, because you have no idea. And my dad, he was born in 1956 and died in 1983. Right. So he was 26 years old, and I was 5 years old. My brother was 3 years old. And, I have a few memories that I can think back on about him and what he did. And obviously there's a bunch of stories that my family's told me about him and how great of a man he was and how smart he was. He was working for Sandia Labs in Albuquerque, New Mexico, an electronic engineer. Really smart guy. Did college in, I don't know, a few years. Not your standard 4 years, but anyways, super smart guy. And I can still remember the night when he passed away. He had a brain aneurysm, and it changed me. It changed my whole life. Because there's this man that was everything to me. And so when I think about that, and I didn't realize it at the time, and I probably didn't realize it for a long time, was that, that experience really taught me that, life is precious. And, to learn that lesson early on, was debilitating. It sucked, and when you think about, like, okay, how different your life may be with him around, it's challenging, because I know how my life was after it, and it sucked for a long time. But I think one thing that I learned was that, anything can happen at any time, right? And so you learn to appreciate, I guess, breathing. You learn to appreciate other things around you. And, our mind is a very powerful tool, because people die every day. People, you all you have to do is turn on the news or open up the newspaper, and, people are dying every day. Every hour, somebody's dying somewhere, right? But we're not crying and grieving over all these people that are dying, right? But if it's somebody that is close to us, or somebody that, is in our family or that we love, it can be a very debilitating thing. It can be very hard emotionally and exhausting. And that's just proof right there that, it's not the fact that somebody died, but it's the thoughts around that person, right, that create those feelings. And when you look at it that way, you can see how the thoughts that we give the situation create the feelings that we feel, right? The feelings that take over our lives. And yes, some of those thoughts can be unexpected and thoughts that we can't get away from, but what we can do is choose to create new thoughts and help us to find a source of motivation and love in it, right? Because somebody's dying all the time, but you don't really care about the people that you don't know, or that you never seen before, never met before. It's not to be cold or anything like that. It's just that it doesn't affect you because you don't associate any thoughts towards them. But when it's somebody that's close to you and somebody that you knew, or maybe is a friend, it can suck. And so what we can do is use some other thoughts to think about. Is a lot of times we talk about a celebration of life, right? So celebrating the moments that we had with that person, or celebrating the good things about that person, and using it as a source of motivation and love, right? Because most often, like, nobody knows when they're gonna die, right? It's like, in my notes I have sometimes death can be unexpected, and it's like, no, it's always unexpected. Nobody knows when it's gonna happen, right? I mean, you can kind of have an idea maybe if you have a terminal illness, but even I think those last moments, you're never really prepared for it, right? And I think that there is something there where if you're close to death, I think depending on your experiences with it, you probably have a different view on life. You probably have a different view on the value of life, right? So I think, a lot of guys that are in the military and had friends that, were overseas and didn't come back, you view life differently. You view some of the stuff that people get upset about, when you come back to the States, and you're like, this is like so minor, compared to what you were dealing with and the stuff that you were doing overseas, right? And when you come back, you're like, I can't believe, like, some people are getting upset about this. Like, there's people dying, overseas for, whatever reason. And so, like, your view's different, right? And I think that if somebody dies early on in your life, your view of life is different. And, the book, The Talent Code, they did a study on all the people that had entries in the Encyclopedia Britannica. And some of these highly successful people were raised by single parents or had a parent die early on in age. And it was just a fascinating, I guess, study or find that a lot of these successful people, had trauma early on in life, and it created this feeling of not being safe or not being protected. So you had to take advantage of your life today. You had to take advantage of, every day to make something out of yourself, or to make something out of your life, right? Because, you've heard time and time again where people have grown up in rough situations, and they've just been, it's created these rock hard people that can, climb the tallest mountains, right? And I think when you have instances like that, or, somebody close to you that passes away, you really learn to cherish each day and give it everything you got. And point 3 was, take advantage of today, right? If you have something that you've been thinking about doing, freaking do it, man. Why wait? Because you don't know if you're going to be around for 1 year, 5 years, 10 years, 30 years, whatever it is. You don't know. So why not get after it today? You know, if you've been thinking about, I don't know, some hobby or whatever it is and accomplishing something, start today. Don't waste another day. You know, if you've been thinking about spending more time with your family, do it. Because I tell you what, man, they're going to appreciate it. They're going to love that you're around. You know, and if you're thinking about your health and you keep telling yourself like, tomorrow I'll get on it. Tomorrow I'll get on it. Tomorrow I'll be better. Like, why wait another day? Because each day you wait, it's not like your health is going to get better. You have to make a choice and you have to make that decision to get after it. Make the change, you know, so that you can be around longer. Because tomorrow's not promised, right? And I can tell you, you know, just from my experiences, and like now me being a dad, you know, when I'm with my girls and they want to play outside and maybe I'm working on something, you know, there's been plenty of times where I've been like, you know, sorry guys, you know, I really got to get on this stuff. But then, you know, 2 minutes later, I'm like, you know what? This isn't that important. You know what's important? Spending time with my girls, being around for them. Because I can't help but think, my daughter's 4 years old right now, and I can't help but think that, you know, she turns 5 years old and she's in the same situation that I was in. You know, 5 years old and, you know, God forbid something happens to me, but then what? You know? So learn to cherish every day and get after it. Get after those dreams. Get healthy. Spend more time with your family. Put more effort into your work, whatever it is that you're chasing or that maybe you're putting off. Stop doing it. You know? Because you never know when something's going to happen and, you know, life's going to change. And so, you know, that's basically the message today is just like, shoot, you know, I think about my childhood and how it's changed me. And I think about myself now as a dad and what I'm doing and stuff like that. And so it's very motivating to think that I can make a difference, or I can, you know, choose to think like tomorrow's not guaranteed and I need to make everything I can out of today. Right? So, you know, if you found value in this episode, you know, the best compliment you can give me is to, you know, share it with somebody else. You know, and if you want to join my email list and you know, just get information on health, fitness, mindset, you know, I send out stuff to my email list weekly, and then go to thesealblueprint.com. Fill out, you know, your name and email there, and you know, you'll be on my email list. I'll send you some stuff every week, and I'm not gonna blow up your inbox with like, you know, 10 emails a week or anything like that, but everything will be related around health, mindset, and fitness. And you know, just to kind of recap what we talked about today is, you know, realize that your mind is a powerful tool. And it can really help you or hurt you in tough times, right? Yes, you know, there's going to be those thoughts that, you know, come and go that cause a lot of pain, but we can also choose to think about the positive thoughts that create, you know, motivation and love, those types of things. We can use the experience of death as a source of motivation and love, you know, and you know, this just popped in my mind, but like, you know, you hear about guys that, you know, come back from overseas and, one of the reasons why they live their lives the way they do, like pushing themselves so hard, is because they think about some of their buddies and how they lost their lives. And, for us to think that we're not doing everything we can with our life right now, and to think that they might be looking down on us, looking at us, thinking, man, you don't know how good you have it right now. Like, you're still breathing. You're still alive. Make something of it, right? And it doesn't have to be somebody that was overseas. It could be like your best friend or whatever, whoever that's passed away in your life. Like, how are they looking at you and how you're living your life? Are you giving it everything you got? I don't know. That's a question you got to answer yourself. And then number 3, take advantage of today, right? Because tomorrow's not guaranteed. And, all we got is what we got. So thank you for listening. I know this was a little bit more serious than, some of my other episodes. But I think it's important. It's something that's on my mind this past week. It's on my mind every time this year, around this time of year. And as painful as it was to experience that at 5 years old, I think that, I choose to think about some of the positives that came out of it, right? Like knowing that I'm not going to be here forever for my kids, knowing that I've got to give everything I've got with the time that I have, and, trying to make an impact as best as I can. All right. So go out there and get after it. Let's go. Thank you for listening to the Highly Effective Man podcast. If you enjoyed or learned something on this episode, do me a favor and share this with somebody who you think needs to hear it. And one last thing, if you want to work with me as your coach to help you get fit, be more productive, and in general, just be the most effective version of yourself, head over to my site, higherlevelcoaching.co. Once again, that's higherlevelcoaching.co, and schedule a call with me there. Thank you again. Let's go.